When people talk about waterproof gear, they often talk about hard shells, soft shells, jackets, everything aimed at protecting your upper body. But what about your legs? They face just as much punishment as your upper body, especially in the wild, wet and windy conditions that we face here in the UK. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the Keela Munro Pro Salopettes. I've been wearing these now for about 8 months across a range of typical UK weather conditions. I feel like I'm in a good position to talk and provide a review on them. I want to talk about the things that I think make these Salopettes great Salopettes. And I also want to highlight a few things where I think a few tweaks from Keela's end could turn them from great Salopettes into even greater Salopettes. Before I give you my thoughts on 8 or so months wear of these Salopettes, let me give you a breakdown of the features and functionality of them. Now, traditionally, I always make an absolute hash of these because I always miss out something and I always forget or misrepresent some critical point. So I'm going to do the best off the top of my head. More importantly though, I am going to link to the web page on Keela's site that has these Salopettes on them. So you can scroll through and nerd out to your heart's content over the technical specifications. But off the top of my head, from the bottom working their way up, they've got adjustable ankles which allows you to tighten them. They've got an internal waterproof gaiter, full length zips right from the bottom all the way up, so you can completely zip them apart. You can partially zip them to facilitate getting them on over big boots, crampons, etc. Speaking of crampons, they have got crampon patches at the bottom inside of each leg. More on that towards the end of the video. Articulated knees, adjustable waist, adjustable braces, partial zip obviously on the front, and they've also got one, more on that later in the video, one chest pocket on the left hand side. From a material perspective, it uses Keela's System Dual Protection, which in a nutshell, definitely not a scientific explanation, instead of the outer layer trying to be waterproof and breathable, which often fails in certain weather conditions, the outer layer is purely waterproof, completely waterproof, doesn't let you down. It's not breathable though. The inner liner is breathable but not waterproof. Who cares if it's waterproof, because the outer layer is doing its job. The inner layer is waterproof. There is a channel between the two, not to scale, and as you're working, as you're perspiring, as you're sweating, the vapor is transferred magically through the breathable inner layer to this channel, again not to scale, in between, and can dissipate. The breathability of these Salopettes is just as good as the breathability of this jacket, which I did an in-depth review in some time ago. If you've not seen that review, I'm going to link to it at the end of this video, so go and take a look at that, and I talk about the breathability of this jacket. One thing I would say though is I don't think any manufacturer or fabric has 100% nailed complete waterproofness, 100% nailed absolute breathability in 100% of any type of weather condition or variable temperature, etc. There's always something that has to give a little. So these are no worse at all in terms of breathability than any other jacket that I've got, and I would say they're as good as this particular jacket's breathability. And if you go and take a look at the video at the end of this video, this is a very, very breathable jacket. I've really enjoyed wearing this jacket. Given that I've spoken about wearing these in winter, from a warmth perspective, they are very warm Salopettes. Warm to the point that today, because it's quite mild, despite me sitting here with my outer belay jacket on because I've stopped for a few minutes, it's a very mild day. These are all that I am wearing. I'm not wearing any leggings, fleece leggings, walking trousers, base layer, long johns or anything like that underneath these. It's just these against my skin. And I'm feeling, at times I was feeling warm when I was going uphill. Sat here now having cooled down, my legs are at a perfect temperature. Wearing these in the depth of winter, I wore a pair of merino wool base layer leggings underneath them and felt no problems whatsoever from the cold and the driving wind and so on. And I suspect even in colder temperatures that some thicker merino weight leggings or some fleece type trousers underneath these would add even more warmth. But as Salopettes go, these are very, very warm, to the point where you wouldn't be kind of wanting to wear these if it was an incredibly warm day, even if it was wet. You quite possibly overheat. But for winter conditions, which is what I bought these for, top notch. I think the final thing that I like is in terms of affordability. Now, I don't like to say things that are expensive or inexpensive, because the onus is on the person that's buying them to determine if they're expensive or inexpensive. But what I would say is this, that if you were to discount, get rid of, ignore the lower end of the waterproof legging / waterproof trouser mag, if you just forget those, I'm not going to name any brands or any particular retailers, but you've probably got a sense of the lower end brands that I'm talking about. If you get rid of those, you're left with everything else. These are far more towards the affordable end of the spectrum than the other high-end Salopettes that you see on the market. They're not the most expensive Salopettes out there by a long stretch. In my opinion, having owned, this is my third pair of Salopettes over the years, these are the best Salopettes that I have owned. And although clearly, because prices increase year on year, it's foolish to compare them to Salopettes that I bought 20 odd years ago, from an affordability perspective, these are absolutely competing, I believe, in terms of features and functionality with the very high-end Salopettes, but they're not attempting to replicate their prices, thankfully, which is why I was able to afford them. So another big tick in the box from an affordability perspective. Let me move on to 3, maybe 4 things that I think that Keela could do to turn these great Salopettes into even greater Salopettes. I'm going to start at my feet and work my way up. On the inside lower leg of each leg is a toughened, thicker patch of material around the inner ankle area, and that's there for abrasion resistance. As it stands at the moment, these do a great job of managing that abrasion that you might have when you're just walking normally in shoes or in boots, where your boot or your shoe catches the other leg. Over time, that could wear the material. So these do a great job of managing that type of abrasion resistance. What they're really there for, though, is to guard against being nicked or caught or ripped if you're wearing crampons. Now, I know from bitter, expensive experience that when you're wearing crampons, you tend to over-exaggerate how you lift your feet, either just to clear the floor or because of the snow and compacted ice that's on the ground. You often have an exaggerated gait. And I think that if I were walking in these Salopettes with crampons on, like I did in the sketchy winter that we got this year, it wasn't a great winter, I imagine that I would have shredded the inside legs of each of these crampons. I have an old mountain equipment pair of Salopettes, and their abrasion resistant patches pretty much almost went up to the knee on the inside of each leg. The patches on these are much, much smaller. Now, I'm sure that keeps the weight down. I'm sure it keeps the manufacturing costs down, and I'm sure it keeps the overall material costs down as well. But that cost saving is thrown out the window, in my opinion, if you shred the inner part of your Salopettes when wearing crampons. So I think an improvement point could be bigger abrasion resistant patches on the inside legs. The second thing that I think could be improved is, if you look here, there is a left hand side chest pocket, which is brilliant, but there's no pocket on the right hand side. If we imagine that a lot of people are going to be wearing this in winter, we know that good practice in winter is to carry more of the equipment that you in summer would put in your rucksack, carry that on your person. So food, drink, electronics, batteries, those types of things far better to store on your person than in your pack on many occasions. So I think they're overlooking a storage option here. It's a great pocket, and I used it a lot this winter. I think I put my phone and a GPS unit in there, or a phone or a GPS unit and something else. But I just think they're missing out on putting a storage on this side as well. Again, I acknowledge it will slightly increase the weight. No doubt it would increase the cost of manufacturing cost as well. But it does seem like an oversight not to have it on the right hand side as well as the left hand side. And talking about the pocket, on the Keela jackets that I've got, their jacket pockets, many of them, particularly the chest ones, have got accessory attachment straps, but there's nothing on this pocket here. No loop, no sloop of material for me to lax foot a compass or a GPS unit or a phone or anything like that too. So again, I think from a usability perspective, having a pocket is better than not having a pocket. Having a pocket with a gear attachment loop would just take it to the next level. So there's 3 points. And the fourth point, and I'm umming and ahhing whether to cover this or not, there's a lot of material on these Salopettes. Now that might be by design, in which case, shut up Craig, but there is a lot of material on these Salopettes. I'm now pulling my Salopettes out to the side, and you can hopefully catch on camera here just how much excess material there is, and it goes all the way from kind of the top all the way down to the bottom. There's a huge amount. Now that might be to enable you to put more and more thicker layers underneath you, which I haven't done as yet. I've not been in a cold enough condition to do that, in which case I get why there's a bigger volume of material. From my perspective, it just means that they're heavier, they're bulkier. It means that when they get wet, they become even heavier, because although this doesn't soak up moisture as such, if anything gets wet, it becomes heavier than when it was dry. So there's a lot of excess material to get wet. And I also found in January, February of this year, in the really high winds we had up in the Cairngorms, that it flapped around a great deal. Not to the point of making me unstable, but it was to the point of making me annoyed that this material was flapping around. But again, I would stress, unlike the crampon patches, the pocket and the pocket attachment loop, there might actually be a really good reason why there's so much material on these Salopettes. It's unusual, isn't it, to complain about getting too much product. Normally people complain about not getting enough product, but I think on this occasion that there's probably another half a Salopette's worth of material, I'm being facetious, of extra material on these. Having said all of that though, if I were to lose these Salopettes tomorrow, I would still go out and buy these Salopettes again. Even without those 3/4 suggestions that I've made, I would go out and buy these again, even if Keela didn't implement anything that I've just suggested there. So everything I've just mentioned moves a great pair of Salopettes up a notch. It doesn't stop them being great Salopettes as they are today. For those amongst you who are thinking, crikey, this clip looks very different than all the other clips in this video, you'd be absolutely right. The reason that it looks different is because there is a 5.5 month gap between today and when I recorded the rest of the footage. The reason there's been a 5.5 month gap is A, when I was up on the hill, I experienced a technical issue which prevented me from recording the end of the video that I'm doing now. And perhaps most importantly, when I got home off the hill 5.5 months ago, I misplaced the SD card that all the previous footage was on. I found that SD card earlier this week, so here I am recording the end of the video. The good news is that 5.5 months has given me even more time to wear and to test out and to come up with feedback for the end of this video. So yes, the video has been delayed, but the good news is it's now been over 12 months now that I have been using those Salopettes. Earlier in the video, I said that if I lost these Salopettes, that I would go out and buy the same pair again. And the past 5.5 months has done nothing to change my mind. They are still, after another 5.5 months of wearing them, they are still very waterproof. as breathable as any other product that I've used. They are still rugged, they are still warm, and they are still coming in at what I believe is a bloody good price point for the features and the fact that they are British made. It's November here in the UK, as you might be able to tell by the amount of leaf litter that's behind me. So for those of you that are going into the winter months thinking about leg protection, you could do a damn sight worse than going to the link below on the Keela website and checking out their Keela Salopettes. Again, direct link is immediately below. I think you could do a damn sight worse than checking them out and seeing if they might fit the bill for this coming winter, and I'm sure many, many winters to come. Thanks for watching.